6-0, 6 knockouts for big baby Jared Anderson, now fighting for the 4th time in the MGM Grand Bubble, so he has become accustomed to this atmosphere. As we take a look at the tail of the tape, 6 years younger than Pena, 5 inches and 15 pounds, give or take, bigger than Luis Pena is, and a 5.5-inch reach advantage. And a guy, Jared Anderson, I mentioned that enigmatic personality, that big smile, and a guy who knows how to promote a fight, knows how to get himself hyped up. And how about this? The Chucky costume leading into the ring. He's even got his cornerman involved as well.
Oh, you gotta love it. I don't know if John Gruden is watching this, but Chucky in Las Vegas, you gotta love it.
Well, it looks like also too, the big baby on his trunks there kind of looks like it's the font of Baby Ruth candy bars, and so why not tie that in to Halloween?
Unfortunately, there's no fans in the stands, else if he was throwing candy bars.
Oh, that is a terrifying sight. A man who is 6'4", dressed as Chucky in a full-on child's overalls. Where do you find child's overalls that big?
Probably
you got to get them custom made, right?
Yeah, I shop at the Big and Tall, and I've never seen them there.
They just have a good seamstress in the bubble as well. Jared Anderson. And one thing that is, I think, the most interesting part about Anderson's game is how well developed he is. He's just 20 years old, and he has confounded opponents in the ring because he comes in and fights as a righty, but he's a natural southpaw in terms of writing and things he does outside of the ring, and we will see him switch from orthodox to southpaw.
We return to the action here inside MGM Grand in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. This is boxing. This is Top Rank, presented by Hall of Fame boxing promoter, Mr. Bob Arum. Brought to you by Geico. This bout is scheduled for 6 rounds in the heavyweight division. Our judges at ringside, Tim Cheatham, Max DeLuca, and Patricia Morse-Jarman. And the man in charge at the sound of the bell, Mr. Mike Ortega. Introducing first out of the blue corner, presented in association with Antonio Leonard Promotions. He weighed in at 246.1 pounds, wearing blue trunks with red trim. He brings a perfect record of 6 wins, no losses. All 6 victories coming by way of knockout. From Toledo, Ohio, Jared, the real big baby, Anderson! Across in the red corner, he weighed in at 229.6 pounds, wearing white trunks with black and silver trim. He brings a record of 6 wins with only 1 defeat. All 6 victories coming by way of knockout. From Oxnard, California, Luis Eduardo Pena!
Okay, gentlemen, we went over the rules. Give me a good, clean fight. Protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands at all times. Good luck to both of you. Touch them up.
Both of these heavyweights have stayed active over the past year. As I mentioned, Jared Anderson fighting for the 4th time here in the MGM Grand Bubble. Luis Pena has now fought 5 times. This will be his 6th fight over the past 12 months. And even though he's coming off the first loss of his career, a guy, as Manuk mentioned, with punching power, both of these fighters with 6 wins, both 6 knockouts. And Manuk, you mentioned it, but neither have been really tested in terms of distance, as this one's scheduled for 6 rounds. Wouldn't be surprised if we don't get anywhere close to that.
Well, judging by the statistics, we're not. Anderson's fights have lasted a total of 11 rounds so far, so...
That's a total. In 6 fights, 11 rounds.
So if anyone's knocking on the door right now asking for candy, you might want to stick around and watch this fight.
As they both come out swinging, Anderson back on the ropes.
Step back,
Luis Pena, his 7 pro fights, has only fought 15 rounds. So kind of combined 26 rounds between the two of them. As you see the big wide stance, the big-bodied Anderson, a guy who's a 2-time U.S. national amateur champion, and decided to forego the opportunity of competing in the 2020 Olympics when we were going to have the 2020 Olympics, and turned pro. And now at age 20, you mentioned it, Manuk, but has really taken advantage of this bubble situation, fighting for the 4th time here and landing that big overhand right, starting to make a name for himself as the punishment is being delivered at the hands of Anderson. Luis Pena curling up and taking it and gets hit with another left hook.
Yeah, and he's already putting it on Pena right now because he stopped him in his tracks. Pena put his backs on the ropes, and he was taking the punches, and Pena's not throwing back right now. This doesn't look good already 90 seconds into this fight. Anderson's having a field day.
Back-to-back left hooks and overhand right. Pena not even throwing punches, just taking it from Anderson. A huge left hook from Anderson lands. Pena wobbled with 1:15 to go here in the first round. Pena completely outmatched so far as Anderson just continues waiting for referee Mike Ortega to step in. Ortega, a long look at Luis Pena as he backs into the ropes again.
This does not look good for Pena. He might as well be a punching bag right now for Anderson.
Anderson stalking, going down to the body, back-to-back hooks. A warning from Ortega on the low blow. Back to the body with the jab from Anderson. And it's just all big baby Anderson here in the first round as Luis Pena just trying to get to the bell.
You gotta do something, kid. Gotta do something.
You hear the voice of Ortega, the referee, saying, Pena, you've got to do something. He has not done anything. Why Ortega has let it go this far, I have no idea.
This fight could have been stopped a minute ago. Pena is wobbling around.
Absolutely no reason for this fight to continue. It ends about a minute and a half late, but it ends with what was inevitable from the first punch. Jared Anderson, 7-0, 7 knockouts, dictated the fight and dominated from the opening bell.
Wow. That was a furious first 2.5 minutes of the fight, and I think it lasted 45 seconds longer than it probably should have. Pena literally did not do anything of substance in this fight. Anderson just steamrolled right through him.
Well, the critics keep waiting for Jared Anderson to have to extend his fights beyond 1 or 2 rounds. And tonight was not the time to do it. Anderson clearly outclassing Luis Pena, and Pena clearly wanting nothing to do with Anderson, trying to get out of there as quickly as he can. And listen, sometimes mismatches happen. Sometimes guys get in the ring and realize, oh boy, this is not a spot I want to be in. That seemed to be the mindset of Luis Pena after the first couple combinations from Jared Anderson.
I think Jared Anderson might be falling under the same pitfalls of stablemate Edgar Berlanga pretty soon by ending these fights so soon. He needs to get some rounds in.
Mark Chinook will make it official for Jared Anderson's 7th win of his career.
Ladies and gentlemen, here inside MGM Grand, referee Mike Ortega calls a halt to this bout at 46 seconds of round number 1. Declaring your winner by technical knockout, Jared, the real big baby, Anderson.
Yeah, Manuk, you mentioned guys, Jared Anderson, Edgar Berlanga, obviously the first round knockout phenom. Obviously, people outside the ring would like to see them go longer in these fights, but there's a couple things that you got to take into account. One, you are only in there with who your promoter and manager decide to put you in there with, and your job is to win. And if that's in the first round because your talent so far exceeds the guy that you're fighting, then so be it. And that's what we saw with Jared Anderson against Luis Pena.
Yeah, you mentioned manager. Jared Anderson's career is in the hands of manager James Prince, one of the best in the business. So it's going to be interesting to see how Anderson is moved along in the next 18 months. He has a high ceiling. He's in the top rank stable, which is building itself a nice class of heavyweights. And of course, the heavyweight champion is Tyson Fury, who he ended up sparring with and preparing Fury for Deontay Wilder in the rematch. So Anderson's ceiling is high. I'm interested to see what it looks like in 2021.
Absolutely.